All right, so I'm going to start recording this lesson. So today, class, we're going to talk about le Noël dernier, le Noël dernier. And so I want you to follow along with me and locate this document. So on the PowerSchool page today, I have put 2 copies of the same document, and it really doesn't matter which one you click on. It only depends on how it's been saved and how you annotate. So you can follow along with me and make sure you're clicking on it so you can open up the document at the same time with me. Oh, actually, right before I do that, if you look on the screen, I also posted the final exam week schedule for next week. So my second period class, who are right now with me on Zoom, we have our final on Tuesday next week. And for the, actually, also my 6th period also is on Tuesday. So all my French 3s are going to have their finals on this next Tuesday. So just be aware. Just keep an eye on next week, particularly the timings, and probably every day this week, every teacher will probably tell you this. But as you can see, the start and end of every single class, including lunch on the Wednesday, is a little different. That's why I've posted this everywhere. So just make sure that next week, when it comes to finals week, you're kind of not turning up late. Especially my class, because it's not like a project like, oh, do whatever and turn it in whenever. It's going to be like an exam over Zoom. So if you come in 10 minutes late, you've missed like, or 20 minutes late, you've missed like part of the exam. So I'll remind you again of that like later on in the week. Just wanted to give you a heads up. All right, so on this week, where you came to do your daily attendance and click in for Zoom. If you look here today, aujourd'hui c'est mardi, le 8 décembre. We have 2 documents, le Noël dernier. They're both the same. One is a Google Doc. So I'm going to go based off of this one. It's going to make you make a copy, so you're not all editing the same document. And it looks like this. So just let me know in the comments if you're having any issues with anything, or I'm going too fast, or you click on it and it doesn't work. Your second option is you can open it as a PDF. So if you wanted, it would come up like this, and then you could open with Kami. So it really is up to you how you prefer to annotate, right on the screen. As you can see for today, it's a gap fill, like listening activity. So that's all that you're really going to be doing to engage with the text. So you can either type straight into it here, or if you opened it with Kami, you could write in it or do text box. So I gave you 2 options today. I'm going to do the Google document one. Okay, so again, this is where it is. And if you are 6th period watching this, then you need to be doing this at the same time. So choose your version and open it up. So we're ready to go. All right, I don't see any comments in the chat so far. So please let me know if you are struggling with anything. I don't want to go too fast, but obviously I can't see you and you're not here in the classroom. If you were in the classroom, I'll just be passing this out on paper, and it'd be like a lot faster, but more wasteful with trees. So this is pros and cons to everything. All right. So I'm just going to click on this real quick, and you can see that here there are some emboldened words. These are like some vocabulary we're going to look at. So I want you to put this document to one side, come back to entirely the video, and we're going to start with that vocabulary. So by the end of class, you'll be able to hear, because it's a listening, and write past tense phrases. So that document, all the gaps to fill are a mixture of imperfect and passé composé past tense to narrate le Noël dernier, which is last Christmas, the Christmas last. So that's our text for today. So talking about le Noël dernier, here we have le vocabulaire utile. So these are all those emboldened vocab on that text, on that document. And then we have les images. Il y a les images. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Et 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, excellent. So le vocabulaire et les images. So I want you to just have a little look and see if you can match them up. I'm going to give you like 30 seconds to a minute to do that, to have a little think. And then I'm going to ask you to participate with me on the screen. Okay, so 1 minute. See if you can match it up in your head. Okay, on continue. And this is how we're going to do it. So I'm going to point and read off the different vocabulary, le vocabulaire. And I want you to use your annotate tool. So annotate, and then there's a drawing tool with like lines like this. So you could either draw a line to where you want it to go to. That's nice. Or maybe, I don't know if it's simpler. And when I say the one that I'm talking about, you can just check or make a stamp on the image that I'm talking about that you think it matches to. Okay, so choose your weapon. I don't really mind either way. On you go. So class, quelle image est la veille de Noël? Quelle image est la veille de Noël? OK, il y a beaucoup de personnes qui pensent Christmas Eve. Il y a une personne qui pense board games. OK, oui, très bien. Oups, je vais faire. La veille de Noël, c'est ça. Oui. La veille de Noël. So Noël, c'est Christmas. Et la veille is always Eve. So we could use that for anything. You know, the eve of your birthday. La veille de mon anniversaire. La veille de Pâques, like Easter Eve, even though we don't say that, but you could use that for anything. Okay. Le prochain, les chants de Noël. Qu'est-ce que c'est les chants de Noël? Oui. Excellent. Oui, les chants de Noël. Merci pour cette ligne. Oui, les chants de Noël. Parce que regarde, classe, dans cette image, il y a les enfants qui chantent les chants de Noël. Par exemple, les chants de Noël peuvent être Jingle Bells et les autres. J'ai oublié. OK, très bien, merci. OK, classe, qu'est-ce que c'est le sapin de Noël? Le sapin. OK, excellent, merci. Oui, le sapin de Noël. C'est ça, excellent. So we saw it like I think last week, le sapin, just by itself, le sapin. The full title, le sapin de Noël. So both are fine. Le sapin de Noël. Classe, le Père Noël. Le Père Noël. Très bien. Oui, vous êtes très intelligent. Oui, le Père Noël, parce que Noël c'est Christmas et en français le Père c'est Father. So in a lot of other countries, he's not really known as Santa Claus, he's known as Father Christmas. So in French, it's the same, le Père Noël. OK, classe, qu'est-ce que c'est la bûche de Noël? La bûche de Noël. Oui, excellent. Ça, c'est la bûche de Noël. Très bien, la bûche. La bûche de Noël, c'est le gâteau au chocolat mais c'est rouler, rouler. C'est on une roule. Alors, une bûche, la bûche is like a log. So it's a Christmas log, but it's not actually a log, it's le désert. It's a dessert, le désert. If anybody was in Bailey's class last year, you remember that she made this awesome, and I really forget who you worked with, so I really apologize for the other person that you worked with, but I know Bailey made une bûche de Noël, super, c'était génial, c'était délicieuse. Okay, in the chat, not in the chat, give me a thumbs up if you remember l'année passée, l'année dernière, la bûche de Noël de Bailey. Okay. Ile, Sophie. Oui, bien sûr, Bailey, Serena. Okay, très bien. There were 2 different classes, so not everybody was in the same class. Okay, merci. Les jeux de plateau. Qu'est-ce que c'est, les jeux de plateau? Ooh, il y a une différence. Okay, it's not quite unanimous. Oui, cette image, ça c'est les jeux de plateau. Excellent. Alors ça c'est un exemple des jeux de plateau. This is something that I talked about briefly yesterday when I talked about my weekend, le weekend passé. So these are all board games. That's what that is. The games of the board, le plateau. Très bien, merci. Alors, le dernier, c'est les amuse-gueules. Les amuse-gueules. Merci. Alors, cette image, c'est les petites amuse-gueules, les petites choses ou trucs à manger, pour manger dans une fête, pour célébrer dans une fête. So type in the chat in English how we would kind of translate that into English. What would we call this? Les amuse-gueules. We've got an image there, but not everybody's familiar with this. You may never have been to a party or a celebration where there's even these things, les amuse-gueules. So if you think you know like how you'd express that in English, just go ahead and type it in the chat. Okay, yeah, Bailey and Kennedy come up with the same word. Yeah, I would say it's like appetizers. Yeah, appetizers, but here in America, like an appetizer is like a starter, right? It's before you have your main meal, so it could be individual. So it's kind of like an appetizer, but it's smaller than that, and it's like this picture. So if you go to a party, when you turn up and you're just having, you know, pre-drinks, like pre-meal drinks and stuff, people come around with a platter of all these little delicacies on them, sweet or savory, quite often savory, and they're like party snacks, I guess you might call them, but like really small, like often with like cocktail sticks, like bite size, and they're to share for everybody. So not kind of like an appetizer, like you'd actually have it even before your appetizer. So you wouldn't necessarily have it sat around a dining table. You might be like milling around socially in the room and somebody come along and you just take these, or they'd be on a display on the side. So that's what that is. Les amuse-gueules. Okay. So class, nous allons continuer, and bearing all those things in mind, you guys did a wonderful job. We're going to move on to le texte, lire le texte. So I want you to have the text up in front of you right now, and you can either just entirely listen to me, or it might be helpful for you to have the screen up on one side so you can see me and what I'm pointing to, as well as your own copy. So the first thing we're going to do is lire le texte et penser. Alors, réfléchir, penser des réponses possibles. So I'm going to mute myself, and I'm going to give you, let's say, 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, to just read through this text yourself first. There's a lot of gaps. You can see in the first paragraph, the gaps have the words which you are going to hear, but they've not been put in the past tense. So you could guess, and you could think about what that would change to, and kind of get yourself ready for the listening. The second one is a lot harder, well, a little harder, because you can tell by context maybe what might come up, but there's no verb in parentheses. So you're going to have to entirely listen. And we're not just going to listen to it one time and then we're done. So you're going to listen a couple of times. But before we do, I just want you to read it through to yourself, familiarize yourself with the text. I would encourage you, since you're all muted, to read it out loud to yourself so that you can hear it. And then we'll do it together. Okay, so just read quietly to yourself. 2 minutes. Allez. Okay, class. So we're gonna start reading. Well, I'm gonna read it to you in a moment. As you were looking through that, if you were in class with me, I would get you to, even after just reading by yourself, kind of turn and just share like what if you could even fill in any gaps right now without even having like heard anything, like if you think so. Just give me a thumbs up if you think like there's a few spaces in there where you're like, I'm pretty sure I know what should go in that gap without even hearing it. Okay, so a couple people, a few people. Okay, not bad. Yeah, and that's okay if you're wrong, if you end up being wrong, but if you have a good idea of what could go in there. So I'm just going to ask Bailey, can you unmute yourself and tell us like one of the gaps where you think you would put something in there?
So for the first one that is on the screen, I put j'ai passé, like I passed the time with my family.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, I'm going to put it in here, and then we'll see as I read it whether. Nice. The nice thing with the Google Doc as well is it does tend to come up with the options for correction too. So you can just right click. Oops. Okay, Missy Bailey. Sophie, did you get the same or a different one?
I got the same one as her.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so let's go with that. So we've done one together, and as we listen to it, you can check whether Bailey and Sophie were right, or you might need to change it. We'll see. And then obviously there's quite a lot, and as you're listening, you might kind of miss it, or you're not type quite so fast. So you are going to hear it a couple of times, and we're going to check. Then you're going to hear it another once or twice to check over and keep going. Okay, so the point is not to be perfect. It's just to get as much as you can. The point is to hear some great French, practice like how we hear the imperfect in the passé composé, how we spell it, how we write it, how it sounds, all of those things. So at this point, you probably just want to have just the text in front of you. You can just be listening to my voice. You don't really need to see me. And so you can be typing as the words are coming up, as you hear them, okay? All right, on you go. Noël dernier, j'ai passé les vacances avec ma famille. La veille de Noël, nous sommes allés à l'église et nous avons chanté les chants de Noël. Après l'église, nous sommes allés à une fête de Noël chez ma tante. Elle a beaucoup cuisiné parce qu'elle a invité beaucoup de monde. Il y avait des amuse-gueules, des desserts et des boissons festives. J'ai trop mangé. Le matin de Noël, il neigeait et il faisait très froid. Cependant, j'ai fait une promenade dans la neige avec Joshua et John. Après avoir mangé le petit déjeuner, nous avons ouvert les cadeaux. Tous les cadeaux étaient autour du sapin de Noël. J'adorais mon cadeau parce que j'ai reçu le parfum du Père Noël. L'après-midi, moi et ma sœur avons regardé des films festifs et nous avons mangé la bûche de Noël. C'était délicieuse. Le soir, je me suis amusée parce que j'ai joué au jeu de plateau. OK, classe. Je vais lire encore, deuxième fois. Le Noël dernier. Noël dernier, j'ai passé les vacances avec ma famille. La veille de Noël, nous sommes allés à l'église. Et nous avons chanté les chants de Noël. Après l'église, nous sommes allés à une fête de Noël chez ma tante. Elle a beaucoup cuisiné parce qu'elle a invité beaucoup de monde. Il y avait des amuse-gueules, des desserts et des boissons festives. J'ai trop mangé. Le matin de Noël, il neigeait et il faisait très froid. Cependant, j'ai fait une promenade dans la neige avec Joshua et John. Après avoir mangé le petit déjeuner, nous avons ouvert les cadeaux. Tous les cadeaux étaient autour du sapin de Noël. J'adorais mon cadeau parce que j'ai reçu le parfum du Père Noël. L'après-midi, moi et ma sœur avons regardé des films festifs et nous avons mangé la bûche de Noël. C'était délicieux. Le soir, je me suis amusée parce que j'ai joué au jeu de plateau. Okay, class, we're going to move on. We are going to listen again, so don't worry. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, I still didn't get some of it. That's fine. We are going to move on to écouter et écrire, and you're going to listen one more time. But before we do that, I'm going to give you the opportunity to check with a friend. Okay, so to go through with somebody else or a couple of other people in this Zoom. So just so I know before we do that, type in the chat the number of gaps that you did fill. So how many gaps do you feel fairly confident that you got, or you put something in there at least? So is it 5? Is it 6 or 10 or 4? Okay, so quite a range. Okay, we've got quite a range, awesome. And an average of like 10 to 15, okay. Not bad. All right, so I think this is what we would definitely do in a classroom. So let's try this out. I'm gonna put you into breakout rooms. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna put you in breakout rooms just for like a minute or two. And I want, well, maybe a little bit longer than that. Yeah, like 2-3 minutes. And I want you to just share with each other kind of what you got in the gaps. You can screen share within your breakout rooms. So you can figure out like one of you, like you can choose one person to like share their screen, even if you haven't filled, you know, you've only got 5 filled in, that's okay. Maybe you don't all have the same 5. So you can go through and help each other out and say, well, I think we got this, I think we got that, and sound it out with each other and help each other out. Then when you come back to the class, I'll read it one more time and you get to check or you get to confirm and add more things in before we go through it as a whole class. Okay, so it's just great practice. And at this point, you're just helping each other. Hang on, I just realized one of the groups is like 5 and all the rest are like 4. That's not quite right. Okay, that's better. Right, here we go. Zach, are you struggling with knowing how to get into the Zoom breakout room? Or have you just disappeared from the lesson? Okay, bonjour, bonjour. I know I didn't leave you very long in those chat rooms. I can see there's still one more room that needs to come back in, but I was just keeping an eye on time and I wanted to call you back. So hopefully you got to chat about some of them, some of your responses, and then we'll clarify and you can check at the end of the lesson right now. Okay, wonderful. So now I have everybody back. I was going to read this out to you and then go through the answers. I'm just going to read it out and do the answers at the same time. So if you want to have, you can be watching my screen and then having your work in front of you at the same time. And so you can just check and leave it, or you can make any editing changes as you need to. Okay, you're not going to turn this in. It's not for a grade or anything like that. It's just for great practice so you can see the connection between the sounds, the spelling, how the past tense really works. So, Noël dernier, j'ai passé les vacances avec ma famille. Très bien, j'ai passé was right. La veille de Noël, nous sommes allés. Nous sommes allés. Looks like that. Nous sommes allés à l'église et nous avons chanté les chants de Noël. So, accent E aigu, E aigu. Après l'église, nous sommes allés. So it's the same. Nous sommes allés, nous sommes allés. À une fête de Noël chez ma tante. Elle a beaucoup cuisiné. And this one should have an E accent aigu aussi. But often with cuisine, it doesn't make that change. Just a little tip. Cuisiner. Elle a cuisiné. Pascal a invité. Elle a invité beaucoup de monde. Il y avait. So we use this a lot over the semester. Il y avait, il y avait, il y avait. Il y avait des amuse-gueules, des desserts et des boissons festives. J'ai trop mangé. So again, accent aigu. So we see a pattern here with the le passé composé. Passer, chanter, aller, inviter, cuisiner, manger. That's a common pattern that we see. All right, let's move on to this last paragraph, which is a little harder because you were going based off of not having a word in parentheses, so not really being sure. So let's go. Le matin de Noël, il neigeait. Il neigeait. Et il faisait très froid. Il faisait très froid. Cependant, j'ai fait une promenade dans la neige avec Joshua et John. Après avoir mangé le petit déjeuner, nous avons ouvert les cadeaux. So this is a irregular, well, this right here is irregular. Ouvert is to open. So it's we opened. Nous avons ouvert les cadeaux. Tous les cadeaux étaient autour du sapin de Noël. So, été, c'est comme ça, été. With the accent. And again, this is something we looked at a lot over this past semester, été. But what you might not have had was this ending, A-I-E-N-T ending. It's the same sound as A-I-T, but this ending is because we've got more than one. So, tous les cadeaux étaient autour du sapin de Noël. J'adorais mon cadeau parce que j'ai reçu with a little cédille. So I received, j'ai reçu le parfum du Père Noël. L'après-midi, moi et ma sœur. So what do we do with les films? Regarder. So moi et ma sœur avons regardé des films festifs. Et nous, what do we do with la bûche de Noël? Et nous avons mangé la bûche de Noël. C'était délicieuse. Le soir, je me suis amusée parce que j'ai, what do we do, le jeu de plateau? Joué. J'ai joué au jeu de plateau. Okay, class. Merci. I know that this lesson today was like, it's very challenging to do it like this. I prefer to challenge you in this way in a regular class. And that way next week when we come at this time to do our final, it won't be as hard as this, but it'll be along a similar line, okay? So this is going to stay there on the screen. So if you need to like stay on a Zoom, make sure you've copied this all down right. You don't need to submit it, turn it in or anything because I'm giving you the answers right now. Our class period is finishing right now. We've got a couple minutes left, so we're right on time. But I would keep this saved. Don't just click off and forget about it. Save it somewhere so that you can review it, go over it. We're going to do some more activities with it over the next couple of days. It's great vocab, it's great grammar, it's great everything. So keep it for your own, in your own documents. French. Okay, merci class. Au revoir. Passez une super bonne journée. I'll see you tomorrow. 2-hour delay, but we're still going to have class.